This is a popular clip of a nerd that got very emotional while watching the first trailer for Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. I am going to assume that his reactions are genuine and that he is not acting. This video got viral and landed its creator in hot water. He was abused and laughed at. He also got some support, but we cannot deny the toxicity that surrounded the video. I will admit that I do not agree with his strong emotional reaction to the trailer, mainly because I did not agree with the direction the Star Wars franchise took with The Last Jedi, and I expected The Rise of Skywalker to be a creatively bankrupt flop. But it does not matter right now. I consider myself to be a huge nerd, and I'm not ashamed of it. I also believe that here we can see another huge nerd. A person that cares a lot about Star Wars, someone committed. Why is it that we cannot accept fanboyism over fictional worlds and art forms, but we accept people crying over a sports team loss? And while I think that in the last decade nerd culture got a lot more popular, there is still some stigma attached to it. I both love and hate hype culture. I'm going to look at it mostly through gaming perspective, but many topics I will touch on will be also true for movies. You see, I'm a type of a person that likes to get immersed in those fictional worlds. I love getting hyped for the new releases, but I know that it's meticulously used against me and other consumers. One of the most recent examples, Battlefield 2042, big hype, shitty release. Other example, the whole Cyberpunk 2077 fiasco, GTA Definitive Edition, Warcraft 3 Reforged, and the list could go on and on.
This is the server's not working great screen.
It's a very unique launch in that we are launching worldwide in every single region. So it's a historical moment for us.
We're waiting for
So, as you probably know, I started a series called Delayed Review. I choose to play games couple of years after release. In the current time frame, we as players cannot be sure if we will get a complete or even functional experience at launch. Then there comes all the monetization methods fueled up by corporate lies. You know, loot boxes, day one DLCs, pay to win elements, season passes, different release dates for people that are willing to pay more, and of course, pre-orders. My choice is to play a game at its most complete state, when it's fully patched, and I am glad that there are so many games being released now because I have a lot of choice in what to play. I want to tell you a little story. A story about the first time I felt screwed over by an expansion to the game. So it was 2002, I was 12 at that time. I was super hyped for Gothic 2, an RPG game. I got the game about a month or 2 months after release and absolutely loved it. So it goes without saying that when I learned about the planned expansion for the game, Night of the Raven, I was super hyped. But then my disappointment was tremendous when the expansion launched and I figured out that elements of Night of the Raven are happening during the main game playthrough, which meant that I was supposed to start another playthrough. To most players it's a great thing because they can play beloved game again. For me it was a problem. You see, it might seem weird to you, but I treat RPG playthroughs as my stories. I mean, the choices I would do in a given situation. Playing the game multiple times and choosing multiple outcomes destroy the immersion of it being my story. It might seem silly to you, but I still stand by this rule of mine. So this way I never got to experience Night of the Raven, and I grew to hate expansion packs, or as we call it right now, DLCs, that added content to the main game's storyline instead of giving a new zone or post-main story content. Right now I do not have the same problem because I played the game a little bit later in the most complete state. I know this way I might lose some initial experiences like figuring out mechanics, people collectively learning the game, but I do not care. I came to Warframe and Path of Exile years after release. Both games felt really overwhelming because throughout the years devs added countless new systems and loot to them. The communities of those titles were really helpful and I still got tons of learning to do on my own. Okay, but let's get back on track and talk about hype culture. What do I love and what do I hate about it?
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Then show me what you know.
Let's start with positives, shall we? So, what do I love in getting hyped? I know that the whole React thing on YouTube and reaction community gets a lot of flack, but I have to admit that from time to time I'm getting drawn into some reaction videos, namely trailer reaction and especially live crowd reactions from gaming events and conferences, things like Gamescom, BlizzCon, E3. I love the feeling of a new title that I'd hoped will be released to finally see the light of day. And to share those emotions live with a lot of nerds, even through a stream, is a magical experience to me. Even Marvel acknowledged how hype can build up their own franchise in their Phase 4 trailer. With time, those reveals became an art of itself. You know, how to present a new game release in a way to invoke the biggest reaction. I do not have a problem with that. In fact, I kinda love the theatrics around it. Kojima Grand Return with Death Stranding, or another one of Todd Howard's immortal leather jackets. It's fun. We should be aware though that this is a part of marketing schemes to just sell more copies of a game. I will touch on dangers common with it in later part of the video. Now, I want to say that I dislike the kind of company that Blizzard has become, but one of my guilty pleasures is to rewatch BlizzCon's trailer for Overwatch 2. Even though I feel like the game is more of a patch than a fully fleshed out project, we cannot deny that the art team at Blizzard is the last bastion of greatness the whole company once had. I remember when I was watching Overwatch 2 reveal, I was actually wondering, oh, are they really going to kill off Winston? Then this happened. I strongly believe that our collective fanboyism and hype is a testament to how much we care, how deeply the art and worlds created by game developers resonate with us. I think that this is how it should be. I treat gaming as a form of art, as an escape from the real world which gets more depressing day by day. I treat games as a way to challenge myself, to experience an adventure. The events like Gamescom, E3 and the rest of them serve as a gathering for all the nerds that care about the gaming industry on a much deeper level than any executive from EA, Ubisoft or Take-Two can even imagine. I love the sense of community those moments provide, to read other people's reactions under YouTube trailers. I am not a guy that cries during movies or games, but I get overwhelmed by emotions because I get immersed into games really easy. Then to see that the story will continue with a lot of other gamers cheering gets me so pumped. It's definitely one of my most valuable feelings ever. Those feelings and emotions we share, while extremely valuable, are also our downfall. Publishers use our sentiments, nostalgia, hype and other precious feelings to sell their products to us, usually at an inflated price. They use various methods that are designed to strike each nerd at their weakest state. When they are hyped to the moon and the ability to make a calm decision fades away. This is what I hate. Each time I watch a trailer or a game reveal, I cannot fully embrace the glorious moment. No, I have to stay on my toes and be ready for a sneak attack. A limited time offer to buy a game at double the price with an addition of some cool skin ripped from the game files or even designed to be the coolest looking thing. only to drive the sales. Or maybe an early today access for the players with deeper pockets. But hey, remember, it's optional. Don't get me wrong, I am not the target for those marketing ploys. As I said, nowadays I am buying games years after release, and I am happy with that. But I have to admit that usually I buy the most complete edition, which also costs more than regular edition, and in some cases those editions do not offer anything of exceptional value. So I am guilty here to some extent. There is a bigger problem here that I want to point out. People that are actually gullible to those kind of marketing actions. Some nerds that cannot wait for the next chapter of their favorite game. And kids. Listen, when I was a child, my parents made a mistake of giving me a computer at 8 years old. I mean, I was 8 years old. At the same time, we moved to a new house in a different location. As a shy kid, it was easier for me to play games than to make friends at that time. I was a very spoiled kid. My mother bought me gaming magazines each month. She was happy that I was reading anything. Anyways, each time I found out about some new game that I desperately wanted, I would bother my parents to buy me that game on release. I have 2 younger brothers that did the same. So we usually got that game pretty much during the launch window. It was at the time when people were not able to download games. You bought game disc and installed the product. The cosmetics were unlockable, not buyable. I can only dread how much money my poor parents would have to spend on my unreasonable gaming wishes if I would have been a kid with the current game industry standards. Multiple overpriced editions of the game, gambling like loot boxes, and store purchases in the games you already paid for, cosmetic skins, pre-order bonuses, and that's the tip of this cancerous iceberg. Kids and people with gambling tendencies or people that have a great problem with their spending habits are being abused by the current state industry. Mainly a AAA industry, which are the big budget gaming companies and corporations. So our collective hype is lucrative to maintain in every possible way. And I hate it so much because I feel guilty each time I feel excitement for some new game. I perceive myself to be a conscious consumer, but let's think about parents. They are usually not invested and not interested in the video games as much as their kids. Since they don't know better, they are the targets for different kinds of marketing schemes. It leads to an interesting point. The bar of what's acceptable is being pushed all the time. The things that are right now considered normal wouldn't be 15 years ago. Some of you might remember the horse armor from Oblivion. Right now, it is a standard practice. Back then, it was a massive outrage. My generation of gamers remembers, but the generation of today's kids will grow up with everything I said being normalized. For them, it's all they ever experienced. The next step is just to patiently wait for my generation to slowly die out, and the bar will forever be pushed. I know that I am not discovering anything new here, but the thought of it is extremely scary, at least for me. There is one more big problem I have with being hyped. It ties to being a person that's deeply involved with a franchise. I will give you my Star Wars example. I was invested in this universe since my uncle showed me all trilogy movies when I was a kid. Think about George Lucas what you want, but I believe that he cared deeply for Star Wars, at least for most of his career. It was his brainchild, and whether some of his decisions were right or wrong, I firmly think that he made them because he thought they would be correct for the world he created. When he sold out rights to Star Wars, the whole extended universe stopped being canon. Years of meticulously created lore were now considered a fan fiction. Story of Kyle Katarn. The games of my childhood were not true anymore. And while I actually loved Rogue One, would it hurt them that bad to keep Jan Ors from original instead of creating Jyn Erso? I did not like the new trilogy. I would have been fine with many choices they made, but the lack of respect Disney showed towards original cast of characters, plus the awful quality of writing, made me realize one terrible thing. The one thing that I thought would never happen. I realized I stopped caring about Star Wars. It might be funny to you, but it was years of my investment towards a franchise that was now being brutally abused for profit and quick bucks without any care. Now think for a second. Every one of you. Did something similar happen to you? Game of Thrones maybe? There are those videos of a pub where a lot of GOT fans were watching episodes when they were premiered. I believe that there were a lot of people that felt betrayed by the absolute lack of quality in the last 2 seasons of that show, especially season 8. Imagine yourself being invested to a story, building up for years, only then to contradict almost everything it stood for and spit on your face while maybe looking flashy. Another example, Halo and its downfall when 343 took control over the franchise. It's only now that I finally hear good opinions about the latest Halo. I will definitely check out the campaign in 2 years or 3. Multiplayer I might check sooner. The examples here are plenty. The scheme here goes like this. A devoted group of people creates something extraordinary that becomes a hit and gains a lot of fans over the world. With more and more growth, the project is then bought by a big company that cares only about profit. Then the downfall begins, because all the creative power in the project is not used to make original vision better. It is mainly used to make the project profitable. And sometimes the good content still will be made, but remember, the main goal is profit. If there is a great narrative idea that might contradict money-making scheme, 9 times out of 10 it won't be introduced. That's why each time a franchise I care about gets big, I feel anxiety. We are nerds, gamers. We care about the fictional worlds and its characters. We crave the lore, stories and gameplay of different games. Even if we tend to overreact on some things, I do not believe it's wrong. We are a community. And while we should be aware of the dangers and traps set by the greedy game publishers, we have the right to be hyped and extremely enthusiastic about our hobby. If you are a person that feels like you should acquire any new game at its release window, if you want to spend additional money on the franchise you are invested in, then all the power to you. My ultimate goal with this video is to make people conscious about what's happening with the market and their favorite medium, as well as cherish the extremely positive state of being hyped. I, for example, will maintain my principle of forcing gaming companies to work a little bit harder for my money, and maybe, just maybe, there will come a time when we will be perceived as an enthusiast instead of an abusable herd of payers. Hey, I want to thank everyone that watched this video till the end. If you liked it, then press thumbs up, subscribe. Leaving a comment about your thoughts would be appreciated. If you didn't like the video, feel free to press thumbs down and also leave a comment. I value all opinions. My question to you. What's your favorite crowd reaction to a video reveal, or what's your favorite trailer for a game or a movie? That's all from me. Bye.